many people out there have been speculating on, that Meghan Markle has lied about her age. Is she actually older?
What if the biggest royal illusion of the decade didn't come from the palace, but from Meghan Markle herself? Because for years, one woman, Samantha Markle, kept whispering a truth the world refused to hear.
I'm going to quote Tom Bauer by saying, he said, look, we all laughed at Samantha and she was right, and everything she said has come true.
Meghan's story doesn't add up. While the tabloids painted Meghan as a flawless, self-made Hollywood dream, Samantha says the math behind her so-called official age is about as believable as her fairy tale exit from the royal family.
And there was something, in my opinion, missing in their eyes. It didn't seem real to me.
Every birthday post, every turning 40 photo shoot. What if the candles were counting down the wrong number all along? This isn't just a family feud. It's a numbers game wrapped in designer coats and palace PR.
And there's a very big difference. It was deliberate.
And here's the twist. When Samantha first spoke up, Meghan's fans called her jealous, bitter, irrelevant. But time has a funny way of flipping the script. Suddenly, old magazines, family photos, and even hospital timelines are proving that Samantha's crazy theory might not be crazy at all.
I'll tell you why. What she told the royal family, what she told Harry, wouldn't have jived, wouldn't have been consistent with the truth.
If Meghan really edited her own timeline, if the Duchess of Reinvention actually rewrote her age, then the royal truth isn't a crown, it's a costume. And once you start pulling on that thread, the entire fairy tale starts to unravel. Because behind every perfect Instagram caption, there's always a draft you weren't meant to see. And Meghan's draft, it might just be hiding a completely different birthday.
There's nothing original here.
I hope you're having the best birthday you've ever had. Thank you for everything.
Which is really such a fake.
World called Meghan Markle a duchess. Samantha Markle called her something else. A mystery wrapped in missing years. Long before Netflix specials and palace statements, Samantha sat quietly with a handful of family memories that refused to match the public timeline. Birthdays that shifted, school photos dated wrong, stories that didn't align. And when she asked questions, the world slammed the door in her face. They called her bitter, they called her jealous, but Samantha didn't have envy. She had receipts.
I remember when she was born, big new addition to the family, and we just have a very young son.
Childhood moments where Meghan claimed to be 9, but family photos showed a teenager. Milestones that magically moved on paper as if her life had been edited in post-production. Samantha wasn't throwing shade. She was connecting dots the media refused to look at. Every time Meghan's brand got brighter, Samantha's warnings got buried deeper. Yet, she never backed down because in her eyes, this wasn't gossip, it was geometry. The numbers didn't fit, and no amount of royal sparkle could fix the equation.
When she said, I lost my father, we knew that she didn't lose our dad, she iced our father.
When Samantha finally spoke on record, she wasn't ranting. She was pleading for reality. If she's lying about something this small, Samantha hinted, what else isn't real? That one line cracked the glossy surface of Meghan's public image, and it spread quietly, like a rumor that, when Samantha finally spoke on record, she wasn't ranting. She was pleading for reality. If she's lying about something this small, Samantha hinted, what else isn't real? That one line cracked the glossy surface of Meghan's public image, and it spread quietly, like a rumor that
her childhood was with me.
But years later, when Meghan's official biography hit the press, something didn't sit right. The dates were too neat. The timelines too polished. Thomas remembered driving a teenager to auditions when the record claimed she was barely in middle school. At first, he doubted himself. Maybe the years blurred together. But old photos told a different story. Captions, certificates, and memories that simply refused to match the official Meghan Markle timeline plastered across magazines. There's nothing original here.
There's nothing original here.
When he cautiously mentioned these discrepancies, the media called him confused. But Thomas wasn't fumbling dates. He was recalling details burned into a father's mind. The graduation dress, the birthday dinner, the year stamped on a forgotten family Christmas card. And that's when he realized something deeper was off. If the woman on palace press releases didn't match the girl he raised, then a rewritten narrative had been sold. And he unintentionally had the original script.
I got it through high school. I got it through college.
But it took one forgotten magazine page to prove that Thomas's memories weren't just nostalgia. They were evidence. And that clue was about to set the internet on fire. For years, Meghan's defenders said there was no proof, just family talk and fuzzy memories. Then the internet found something that couldn't be argued with. Ink on paper. A March 1997 issue of 17 magazine listed Meghan Markle, 21, right there among a group of young women in a lifestyle feature. Not 15, not 16, 21. Printed, published, archived. That single line flipped the debate from speculation to documentation.
In my opinion, she would still be a waitress if it wasn't for Dad.
If Meghan was officially born in 1981, she would have been a sophomore in high school that spring, not old enough to be featured as an adult model. Yet, there it was, clear as day, long before royal fame or PR polish could have manipulated the narrative. People tried to explain it away. Maybe it was a typo. Maybe another Meghan. But even skeptics had to admit the odds of that are microscopic. The photo, the name, the California connection, it all fit too perfectly.
How can you get your age so wrong?
And suddenly Samantha's jealous sister rant didn't look like jealousy anymore. It looked like foresight. The magazine page became the first tangible artifact of an alternate timeline, one that existed long before the cameras, crowns, and chaos. Because digital rumors can vanish. Tweets can be deleted, but print doesn't lie. And that 1997 page wasn't just an article. It was a smoking gun quietly waiting for the world to notice. When two timelines collide, only one can survive. And Meghan's might not be the one written in ink. By now, two different versions of Meghan Markle's life are staring each other down. One carved in royal ink, the other sketched in pencil by those who actually lived it.
This is a copy of 17 magazine, and it was published in March of 1997. In it, it mentions our Megzy is from Los Angeles and that she was 21 years old at the time of publication. That would make her birth year at around 1976.
The official Meghan, born August 4th, 1981, moves through life with precise public milestones. School in Los Angeles, acting breaks in her 20s, royal fame at 30-something, perfectly linear, perfectly curated. Then there's the other version, the pencil sketch that Samantha and stretching back a century. A Meghan who was already a young woman by the mid-90s, who appeared in magazines meant for adults who didn't just bend timelines, but may have rewritten them altogether. In one version, she's 37 when Archie is born. In the other, she's already in her early 40s. That's not a rounding error. That's an entirely different story.
So there is something that is not connecting. There is something that is not right.
The contrast feels like two parallel scripts, one polished for press releases, the other scribbled in family scrapbooks. The palace swears by the official records, but the evidence keeps whispering something else. Which version is real? The glossy biography, or the one that never made it past the editor's desk? If the ink timeline was built for image, the pencil version looks dangerously human, messy, unfiltered, and far less royal. And when you compare those two ages side by side, another question explodes into view. How did the pregnancies fit into either one? Because if the math is wrong there, the illusion starts to collapse everywhere.
But if you look at this, Meghan Markle has been incredibly quiet about the birth, but mostly the pregnancy of these children. Everything has been shady. The one who's been blabbing and saying crazy things is Prince Harry.
When Meghan announced she was expecting, the headlines glowed, a royal miracle at 37. Cameras flashed, fans cheered, and the palace called it perfectly timed. But behind the glamour, the numbers whispered something different. If the mid-70s birth year is even close to true, that means Meghan was 42 or 43 when Archie arrived. A range doctors call high-risk territory. That single detail flips the entire fairy tale pregnancy narrative on its head. Because pregnancies past 40 usually come with extra monitoring, advanced screenings, and long hospital stays, none of which fit the effortless image released to the world. The bump photos looked editorial. Ready. The timeline's airtight, the recovery almost cinematic, too smooth, too edited. Medical professionals quietly pointed out what tabloids ignored. Older mothers face greater risks, longer recoveries, and stricter post-birth observation. Yet, Meghan's story unfolded like a spa brochure. Candles, smiles, perfect lighting. If she truly was in her 40s, the secrecy around her delivery suddenly makes sense. The private hospital, the undisclosed medical staff, the missing birth certificate details, all part of the same script control.
And when you're pregnant, there's not a pillow under your skirt. And there's live footage of her walking towards camera with her abdomen swaying left to right in a black and white checkered dress.
And that's where the age question stops being cosmetic and starts being critical. Because age isn't just a number. It determines risk, recovery, and reality. If the math shifts even a little, so does the truth behind those carefully staged photos. And Harry's own memoir would soon give away something no PR team could erase. The details of that birth didn't match hospital practice at all. Prince Harry's own memoir was meant to humanize the couple, but instead it accidentally broke their fairy tale. His warm recollection of Archie's birth sounded picture-perfect. Soft music, flickering candles, calm voices, 2 epidurals, and a glowing Meghan walking out of the hospital hours later. It was cinematic, almost too cinematic. But when medical experts read it, they didn't swoon. They raised eyebrows. Because Portland Hospital, known for luxury maternity care, still follows strict post-epidural monitoring rules. Patients usually rest under observation for several hours, sometimes overnight, walking immediately after multiple epidurals. Physiologically impossible, according to professionals. And yet, in Harry's retelling, Meghan was up, radiant, and headed home before the ink on the paperwork dried. Doctors quietly noted the gaps, the timing of discharge, the missing recovery details, the logistics of leaving a secure hospital in central London while newborn checks were supposedly still underway.
A doctor has come forward and has absolutely revealed, and you're going to listen to her. She has absolutely revealed and confirmed that Meghan Markle was never pregnant, never gave birth to any children.
Everything about the timeline felt compressed. It painted a contradiction. Either Meghan's delivery defied standard procedure, or the story was massaged for image. And if the latter is true, what was the reason? Privacy or performance? Because hospital protocols aren't flexible fairy tales, they're hard science. And Harry's dreamy account clashed with every medical outline available. Next, when the exact hours of that night were reconstructed, the illusion shattered completely. The math didn't just bend, it broke. When the birth timeline is broken down minute by minute, it starts to look less like a royal event and more like a riddle. According to Harry's own words, Meghan delivered, received 2 epidurals, recovered, and left Portland Hospital in roughly 2 hours. 2 hours. That's barely enough time to process anesthesia, let alone safely discharge a new mother and newborn. Medical professionals who reviewed the account called it physically improbable. After an epidural, patients typically remain under observation for at least 6 hours to ensure their legs regain full strength and vitals stabilized. Walking immediately after, a Hollywood fantasy. Yet Harry's story had Meghan standing, smiling, and heading home as if she'd just wrapped a photo shoot.
Here, the doctor talks about both the children, and listen to what she says.
So you tell me to tell you something that maybe a dozen people actually know that's going to come out very soon. Okay. Meghan Markle, the reason why you watch her interviews and she just seems off, she's owned by a pharmaceutical company. The 2 children that she had, they're not hers. She didn't have them with Harry. And how her and Harry met is that she's a prostitute.
Then there's the drive about an hour from Portland Hospital to Frogmore Cottage. Factor in post-birth checks, baby transfer, security coordination, and paperwork, and the math implodes. The timeline isn't just tight, it's impossible. No royal convoy moves that fast without cutting corners or cutting truth. Even supporters began whispering, why rush? What was so urgent that they'd condense a medical event into a montage? Some speculate privacy. Others image control. Either way, the story's precision feels suspiciously cinematic. Every beat choreographed to perfection. And if Meghan truly left within hours of labor, she bypassed medical norms that even the most discreet royal births respected. And if the account was massaged for optics, it raises one haunting question. If they edited the timeline of a birth, what else in this royal narrative was rewritten for effect? Because a 2-hour miracle makes for a beautiful headline. But in the real world, it's a script that simply can't exist. Every celebrity reinvents themselves. But Meghan Markle didn't just rebrand. She rebuilt. The transition from a supporting TV actress to global duchess was an evolution. It was transformation by design. Every interview, every quote, every Instagram caption worked like brushstrokes, painting a new version of her. One immune to her past, her critics, and maybe even her own timeline. Hollywood calls it image control. The palace calls it optics.
And you're wondering, why does her age matter at all? Because her age would also have an impact on her ability to have children. Because if Meghan Markle is 4 years older than what we have been led to believe, it makes it even more difficult to believe that she was able to get pregnant so quickly.
By the time the royal spotlight hit, the woman who walked into Buckingham Palace wasn't the same one her family remembered. She was a new construct, age-adjusted, narrative streamlined, edges softened for mass appeal. The messy parts deleted. The inconvenient dates blurred. It's not just vanity, it's survival. In the world Meghan entered, perception is reality. And once a story catches global fire, correcting it becomes impossible. You can't fact-check a fairy tale. You can only decide whether to keep believing it. That's what makes Samantha and Thomas's memories so dangerous. They aren't alternate facts. They're anchors. They pull the image back to something unfiltered, something human, something the palace machine can't polish. So, maybe this was never just about age. Maybe it was about control, about owning the story before anyone else could. Because in Meghan's world, truth isn't something you live, it's something you edit. And once the edit sticks, the world forgets there was ever a first draft. When you line up the clues, Samantha's memories, Thomas's timelines, the 17 magazine proof, and that impossible hospital story, one thing becomes clear. Meghan Markle's public image didn't just evolve. It was engineered. A life edited frame by frame until even the date started bending to fit the narrative. Maybe it began as harmless branding. Maybe it became habit. But when every detail from age to pregnancy starts to look rehearsed, the line between authenticity and performance disappears.
Never mind the hysterectomy stories that her family had told. But that would make it more difficult because that would make Meghan Markle near 50.
This isn't about envy or gossip. It's about how easily truth gets lost when the cameras never stop rolling. And if this story left you wondering what else has been carefully hidden behind that polished royal curtain, you need to see what happened next. Because in our last deep dive, a certain outspoken British host shocked live television when he pulled up those never-before-seen Soho House photos and dropped a truth bomb the world wasn't ready for. It's the moment that changed how everyone saw Meghan's rise, and it connects directly to what you just heard. So before you scroll away, click and keep watching. That investigation doesn't just expose more secrets. It explains why this entire illusion may have been crafted from the very beginning.